Hi, everybody. Welcome again to a chop session with Product Mind on our podcast, which we still haven't named, but we will get to that eventually if you find it useful. So today, we wanted to do a very, very quick surgical session on the new OpenAI study that came out that's comparing work done by GPTs, including OpenAI's and Claude, with real work, pitted against professionals doing the same kind of work, people who have been professionals for 10 plus years, people who are really good in their field. And so they created this study checking on that work. LDR, they have speed, professionals have completion, especially when other humans who are experienced measure the work and measure how it's done. And there's a lot of nuance in it, so we're going to get into it. So the first thing we're going to do is obviously reintroduce you to the amazing Ted. Ted is MIT trained, a technology professional, investment professional, which is super rare combination. At the level and the elite level, he's done it on the East Coast at Bridgewater and on Citadel and so other places. And of course, we have Ezinne and Ted, who is Chief Product Officer, ex-Chief Product Officer, responsible for lots of machine learning data. She drove, the platform that helped launch to IPO Procore and my humble self from Twitter, Calendly, and a few other places. So we are bringing a lot of thought to this. What should we make of this new study, and where is it going? Ted, why don't we start with you? What do you think?
All right. Well, thanks for that intro. So this study was just released, looks like on the 20th, and they call it GDP Val, as in Gross Domestic Product Valuation, which I think says a lot right there. So they are very clearly saying we're trying to create a standard to evaluate whether or not our stuff is of economic value, which is above and beyond something else, like any other kind of arbitrary standard. Now, the paper talks a little bit about various benchmarks that have existed in for coding that AI have optimized and surpassed humans. And here they basically stake out territory for 44 different occupations. And it says here they do 1,320 tasks within those 44 occupations. And these occupations are by and large the ones you might think might get disrupted by AI. Knowledge-based applications, what I would call knowledge transformation-based occupations, sorry. So this includes things that are obvious, as say news reporters or journalists or analysts, but maybe some things that are a little less obvious. It says here sales managers, supervisors of salespeople, right? Pharmacists, private detectives, financial managers, on and on and on. Registered nurses, so it's an interesting thing. My quick take on this is standards are good. I mean, I think it's certainly better to have standards than to not have standards. But of course, we need to think about why, out of the kindness of their heart, they decided to establish a standard. Interestingly enough, they themselves do not score the highest on. If you look at the paper, Claude, their Opus 4.1 model scores above ChatGPT 5.0 high. Now, again, this is not a gift from Sam Altman, or rather it is a gift, but like all of his gifts, they come with strings.
Ted, you got to make sure that Sam will hire you one day and give you a lot of money. So you got to be careful. I'm kidding.
Hey, you're right.
So, I sort of echoing what Ted said. The thing that I want to hone in on is the standard itself. We're just having a quick pre-session, and a standard is a very important thing in the world of technology and in the actual world. GDP itself, how it's calculated, is a standard. Someone invented it. And of course, it was, validated by a few other people, but it's a standard. And actually, it's not nations that invented this. It's some dude in some economic think tank said, this is the way we should do this. The problem that OpenAI is trying to solve is that no one believes really all the synthetic benchmarks that they show about artificial intelligence. Right? Some people don't even know about them, first of all. But it's obvious that there has to be a way for us to evaluate whether Claude 4.1 is better or whatever is better. And there's a lot of these benchmarks that are all synthetic. And especially for coding, though, they have like real humans go through it. But if you are in the system, if you know AI, a lot of people are very, very skeptical about this stuff. What they're trying to do is sidestep the skepticism. GDP Val is a land grab for credibility. Because if you can compare it to real jobs, all of a sudden, everyone in the economy can pay attention to it. They can point to it and say, oh, how well do they do my job? Right? And that's better than a bunch of nerds sitting in a corner saying, this synthetic benchmark doesn't work. And basically, I'm talking about the power of the standard. If OpenAI sets a standard for comparing the real economy to the agentic economy, which is essentially what they want to do, they have mindshare of people in the world that is very, very important. Now, this can be used for good or evil, right? When it's used for good, you're being honest about it. Yes, we can do nurses' works better. We can do sales jobs better. It's objective, or at least it can be open source code reviewed. But the evil part of it, that's possible because we are in the business of thinking about unintended consequences. Once people believe the standard, if it's used for evil, if let's say it's not better than nursing, but you say it is, people will believe that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so beyond what we are seeing today, this is a release, they are staking a standard. This is very, very important. Our wish, obviously, is that doesn't become the standard because no one asked them for it. No one voted for it. And we're finding it very difficult to believe that this is unencumbered.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What we hope is that there are multiple of these so that we can all look at them and say which is best, which methodology is best, instead of OpenAI as being the standard. So don't buy into the standard yet, people. There's a lot of skepticism to be done. That's what I'm thinking. What do you think?
I mean, I do think that at the end of the paper or the output that they provided, they actually are honest about the fact that it's the first version. They actually do say that it's making conceptual leap, from models that can do tasks to measuring economic impact. But for me, as I kind of reviewed the document, there are a couple of major gaps. First, in trying to ascertain the impact or value, I think that they are in fact overstating the value it's contributing because they are looking at jobs in which AI, right, is typically good at. But we also know that there are many jobs that contribute to the GDP that AI is not necessarily great at, right? The other thing is that it assumes that the output of AI will be accepted as is without human review, etc. So that cost is not even factored in because we know that as humans, no matter how good we think, you're muted.
Some of it is mentioned.
Okay.
The rework.
They talk about it glosses over what I think most organizations would do, which is check on the deployment. Are they actually going to use the pure capability as is? So there's a bit of it that I'm worried about that. So again, I agree with everything you say. They're trying to be first to market, define what value is. They are also cautious by saying that they know it's not there. So everything you and Ted have said is really important. But I do know that I think they're overstating the value because they've cherry picked the roles that they're trying to map and etc. And I know that if you really look at it across the board and the things that do contribute to GDP, they're not truly represented at the right level here. So I do think it's there's an issue there. What else? Let me see.
No, I just wanted to build on your point. I think it's a very, very smart point, which is, and this is why this thing needs to be open source reviewed. Like, why did they pick the 1320? All right. If you did a pie chart of the GDP and all the tasks in it, what percentage does this cover?
Exactly.
Right? Precisely.
Exactly.
Right. And then just to build on it maybe a little further, we know that there are network effects to jobs in the economy, meaning that some things that are done are slow release. They provide economic value immediately, but they also provide sort of a long cycle of economic value, if that makes sense. Like if you're a cashier, yes, you're checking people out, but you are also or a nurse, you are also the first responder when society goes to shit, right?
Yeah.
What is the economic value of that, right? It's not calculated in an instant, but if society goes to crap, your economic value sort of boosts real quick because you are the backbone of, you know what I mean? Like, I think there are these nuances that it misses. So I think that's a really reasonable critique and actually gives us maybe like an idea, which is someone should create the anti-GDP val, right? What does it miss?
Yeah.
What does it miss?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I mean the other piece is if you're going to talk about cost benefit, then you really should at least nail the cost piece. And I do think that they couldn't get the cost for Claude, Gemini, and Grok. So what exactly did they get right? You know, how complete is this? The second one again, and I'm going to restate it, and I know you say they said it, but the reality is that if you replace a nurse with AI in any way, it will be monitored, it will be measured, you don't deploy it as is. There is a cost to surround and get that AI to work in real life. And that is not accounted for fully from what I see. So it is
Yeah.
overstated, period.
And to be clear, just to push on what you said, is the cost of rework, human supervision, because of accuracy levels, right? Obviously, like in finance, nuclear engineering, you're not going to see some of these models, right? But in lower stuff, like when we write and we create an idea and we use AI to sort of refine that idea, we have to have a lot of oversight so that our voice is preserved, so that insights are part of, because we are generating the insights, we don't want it to be elided by AI and so on and so forth. But beyond that rework is the cost of energy to bring that AI to life, is the cost of deployment, is the cost of maintenance, because it's all code, right? And so, I mean, I think if you're going to be honest about GDP, you have to, it's not just rework. There's a lot more cost, just to your point,
Yeah.
Ezinne.
Deployment.
Yeah. Now to be fair, like I think that's why they called it GDP val, right? Okay, because they want to attach this very, very big halo effect as to GDP because it's like a sacred number that most people probably think is like an official look it up thing. But maybe now, thanks to Trump firing the people in the BLS, we realize it is definitely not just a number, right? So these things are very political, they're very calculated, and there's not obvious what the methodologies are behind the scenes for a lot of these, right? So as we were saying, having one standard in the company, controlled by the most prominent, certainly in terms of fundraising company out there, not the best idea. The rework thing that you bring up is interesting because I think a lot of cases they deliberately picked low-level jobs or first-line jobs, right? So you'll see if you look at the 44, a lot of them say first line whatever, first line this, right? And I think they are factoring in that there are human supervisors that can, if the AI is wrong or whatever, just like, frankly, if your first line employee is wrong, your boss is around to step in and keep a patient from dying or whatever, right? So I think that it is factored in, but I agree it's not going to be factored in enough because that certainly reduces the strength of their case. I will point out that, if they wanted to pick on the wrong people, they certainly did that. They've got police in here, I think detectives in here. What is this? So they've got educators, they got firefighters. I'm just making that last one up, but like they think they're picking on the wrong people. So in that sense, maybe it was something that was created legitimately, kind of in an ivory tower setting. Without too much cold calculation about it, because again, I don't think the first people you want to pick on are your first line supervisors of police and detectives.
So I respect them. Coming out is really important. So definitely kudos to them. I do think like we should make sure other people try it. I think that they recognize that in order for this to be valuable and read and adopted, it has to really look at the society and look cross-cutting across multiple jobs. So I think that's what they aimed to do, and that's all good and fine. However, it's 44, and I do not know that these are actually the major contributors to GDP. So that's my only critique.
I was gonna make the same point. Like, remember the optics of standard. I think to me that's the overarching thing. You want this to be the standard. You're soft launching your new standard, and you want to make sure that when people on Main Street look at it, it represents the things that they think about. If it's all wonky stuff that is just AI amenable, then it doesn't convince them. I think it's a conviction tool.
Yeah.
I think if I was an OpenAI, and I think I sort of, I spend a lot of time with one of their executives. The way they think about this is they think really hard about society. They're a company that thinks about unintended consequences, and for them, I think this is convicting the public about this as the place they look when they want to start to think about this stuff in the future.
Right. I think that's right. And listen, standards are good, right? As you said, for good and for evil. I think that what would be bad is purely on the basis of, well, I think this is better than you, so I'm firing you, right? That's bad, right? I think having objective
Mhm.
standards for jobs is not a bad thing, you know. However, I think the devil is in the details, as always, for these kinds of things. By the way, even think about automation, right? Physical automation in terms of assembly lines and these kinds of things, right? So, you know, having standards for how well robots do welding, how well they do painting, and these kinds of things makes safer cars. That's absolutely the case. And those jobs, some of those are human assisted. Of course, your new plants in China are like no humans anywhere. But anyway, you know, up till now, we've had a lot of human assisted and oversight of robots and welders and all that kind of stuff, like other robots, I mean, right? So the having those standards allows you to do things like Six Sigma, allows you to do things that will rapidly and repeatedly create quality outputs, which is important because we don't want people to be hurt by shoddy cars. So that's good. And so, you know, uh, again, this is as we keep saying, and I again want to say just for the listener, I think the most important point is staking out ground. And what I would love to see, I think what we'd all love to see, is that other people's responses from other companies and from independent, you know, hopefully nonprofits or even governmental entities or multinational entities is, hey, well, hold on here, hold your horses here. Like, let us put something out here in the way that we do so that we can create something more objective.
Yeah, it's like crocodile doing a standard for whether the animals that come to the bank are tasty. Like, no, no, that's not how we do things.
No, not exactly.
If you are the main economic beneficiary of a standard being true or not true, you shouldn't hold the keys to it and you shouldn't define it.
No.
And that's the truth. Now, all this is not to say that we find it fascinating, first of all. I think we're just getting into it and sort of thinking around it 360 degrees of a chop session. But yes, in a perfect world, we don't want Anthropic or OpenAI close to any study that shows how their work affects GDP. Not at all.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just not scientifically kosher.
Yeah, the
By the,
incentives aren't well aligned, right? It's like it
yes.
just isn't. It's like wait, trying the fact that I learned this recently that BMI of the 10 folks who actually defined what body mass index was, 9 of them were employed by weight or gym. So of course the BMI is going to be low. I just found this out today. So it
Well,
shows
today,
weight loss,
TIL.
so
That's
it's
a good
like,
one.
so like is BMI actually health? And I'm not saying it's not. Obviously I haven't learned
It is
as
not.
much of it, but it's not. Like if everybody
Whoa,
on
hold on,
the
folks. It's
the
not a health
panel.
podcast. Okay, hold on. Don't take any health advice from us. Okay, hold on.
No, we're not. So simply it's just saying, hey, let's be careful who's putting this stuff out there. I would actually say that this eval looks more at labor val. It should probably be more like labor val versus GDP val. But again,
Yeah.
just haven't consumed it in great detail. But we really, I would love to see this done again and done with more folks and done a little more openly with a real desire to understand the true implications. And because I think it's actually really important to try and grok that soon.
Before we go, I want to sort of tickle you guys with a little question. So we're seeing an uptick in companies who are using AI as an excuse to fire a lot of people. We are in general skeptical of it. We think that studies like this embolden those actors, and you can't help it. It's not that you shouldn't put out studies like this, but people are going to use it and say, this is why I got rid of 1,000 people. I guess the most shocking recently was Accenture got rid of a ton of people,
Saw that.
and they said, "Oh well, if you don't use AI, which is our biggest word, you can't survive here." But what does that mean? Who decides the standard for using AI in Accenture? Is Accenture financially viable? That's my main question, right? And so, and if you look carefully, maybe you guys can. Maybe this is. I don't want. This is. I don't. This is suspicion for me.
Mm-hmm.
Every company that I've seen cutting people because of AI was built 10 plus years ago and is no longer growing that fast.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
right? That's what I'm seeing. In fact, I heard a quote, which I'm going to amplify. I don't know where it came from, so I can source it because it's not mine. That when you see a company that's using AI properly, they're hiring people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about Lovable. Think about all these startups who are growing like torrents and weeds, who are AI native. They are hiring people because they need people to orchestrate the AI that they want to sell to a million people,
Exactly.
right? And yet we
Exactly.
see
Yeah,
people who are
and
doing
they
the
can't
exact
hire fast
opposite.
enough.
So, like,
So
Yeah.
yes,
I know you said this is a tickle session, but the reality is I think that I know we're skeptical, but people will lose their jobs because these
no.
companies that go
Just to
ahead.
clarify, it's not that people won't lose their jobs. These things will affect jobs, but people are
Absolutely.
using them as an excuse
Excuse.
at the moment.
Yeah, but no matter how you put it, companies that do not have a sustainable model in this new age have to do something. So
Mm,
whether it's because they don't know how to use AI, but AI is still the real reason. Because
mm,
consulting has to change, right? It just
mm,
has to. So Accenture
mm.
knows that. Do they know how they want it to change? No. Do they know how they can fix their books so that it looks better? Yes. And that's what they're doing. While they think,
But that's the thing. That's the thing. So
100%.
let's
100%.
you hit that, you hit the nail on the head. I agree. We already believe in the great replacement at Phalanx Ventures, right? A lot of these things are walking dead. Agreed. And they're walking dead because of
Absolutely.
AI. Agreed as well. What we don't like is that instead of saying we aren't adapting to AI fast enough and our business model is at risk, they are saying instead that humans are flawed, not the executives, and humans are going to be replaced
Always
by
been.
AI. You know what I mean? There's a nuance to it, which is
Well,
essentially lies.
Well, hold on a second. Just so we're clear, though. Hold on. I think that let's get real. Okay, the economy is weakening. All right, this is obvious. The Fed is cutting rates for a reason. So this is not political. This is absolutely fact. Okay, the economy is weakening. People are cutting. AI is the excuse du jour to cut people, and they're going to use it because using that excuse makes you look like you're forward thinking as opposed to just cutting costs. So if it was
so
something else, if it was painting, all of your cars pink, then people will be painting their cars pink and saying, well, we need fewer people because we painted all of our cars pink or whatever
okay,
stupidity, right?
so
It's just an excuse.
I'll build on this, okay? I don't even believe I'm saying this. I don't, so AI drives operational efficiency, period. Okay? So they're doing what they know to do with AI, which is drive operational efficiency. And they are right. Two things are true. They don't require as many people as they used to for some of their operations. And number two, the people they have in seat are not skilled in AI. Those are facts. Okay? And they also have to fix their books. So what are they going to do? Fire. So there is a part of it, but if you are not adept to inquire, like, oh yeah, okay, you fix the cost, but what does growth look like? Most of them don't have answers, and that is a fact. So I agree with everything you're saying, but it is a cycle that we cannot avoid, that will happen. What then is going to happen? This is what happened when manufacturing moved to the United States. Yes, people lost their jobs. Then a reskilling had to happen, and now people who were assembling now had to learn, or new people came. There was the people who were doing that labor moved to other job industries, and people who are now skilled at using automation came into the industry. So there's a shift that's going to occur. It just is. It will happen. But the reason is nuanced, and smart folks like Audrey is calling it out. But of course, people aren't skilled. Operational efficiency is occurring. So this is a phase. This is the phase of letting everybody go. People will reskill, and people will be hired back again. That's how I look at it. It just is the cycle of life, unfortunately.
Isn't there with the balanced view? Although I feel like you're shilling for the corporate. I'm
No,
kidding.
I'm not. I just, but no, no, but it's no, I'm not. I'm just saying if you look at what
No. See,
happened,
I totally,
I worked in a
you and I,
factory. Remember,
we're on the same page. We're
I
we're
worked.
we're on the same
We're
page.
all good.
This will transform work, but I think we're just a little pissed off in the way they're messaging it.
Yeah,
I
the
think that's
messaging
it.
sucks.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not. It's not. It's not deep. And people aren't asking core questions. They're taking it
Mm,
at face value. I worked in a
Yeah.
yeah.
factory. We took did automation, and I know the people that I worked with lost their jobs, right? The phone factory, but then the factory retooled and hired more people later. So
Yeah. No, it's overreach, right? It's overreach.
Yeah. Sucks. Why are we
Okay,
ending
well,
on this note? Let's end on
no,
something.
I think it's fine because what we want to tell people is that there is more to turning around the corner. Like you said, was a growth story. If you keep doing this and it's a bottom, it's like a zero sum story, you won't prosper. If you do financial engineering, you won't prosper. Eventually, everyone has to learn how to turn this into real work. And if you combine the MIT study with this stuff, you will see a picture emerging, which is it's going to take some time to absorb these innovations into the real economy. And it's going to take a lot of work, which actually will create GDP, to transform even consulting companies who, quote unquote, help others transform into real AI and agentic, factories that actually do work that compare with human beings. So we're just at the beginning of it. It'll create a lot of work, a lot of wealth, and good luck with everyone who's trying to grok the reality of this, because it's important. If you don't understand the truth of it, you will make bad business mistakes, and we're here to prevent you from doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
right, everyone. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you in the next podcast soon. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.